The recipe to success is find someone who's got what you want and go find out how they did it. There's a saying, success leaves clues. And most small businesses fail because they're trying to reinvent the wheel and they're trying to do something that's been proven by someone else a different way. That's either naivety or arrogance.
Hey guys, before we get into the episode, I just wanted to share a super exciting announcement, if you didn't know already, which is that we have officially launched our education arm of Social Awaken Academy, starting with our first ever course called Grow Your Brand with Social Media. Now, whether you're an entrepreneur, an influencer, a content creator, or you're just looking to see noticeable results from social media, then this is the course for you. It's the culmination of years of experience in running the leading social media agency, and this course will literally change the game for you. So check it out, socialawakenacademy.com. All the links are also in the description. Now let's get straight into the episode. Welcome to another episode of Recipe to Success. I'm very, very excited today because I have a man who I have been following for a long time. He puts out amazing content all the time, and if you guys haven't seen him, then definitely check him out. So we're gonna get straight into it. So Rob, how's it going?
All good in the hood.
We've been going off camera, lots of conversations. But yeah, like I said, it's definitely an honor to have you on. For anyone that doesn't know who you are, it's probably a small amount of people, but in case, why don't you give us a bit of a background of who you are and, everything that you got going on at the moment?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur actually about 21 years. I tried my hand being an artist and doing e-commerce before e-commerce was a ting back in the day. And they did all right for me on the side hustle. I would have been, really early 20s. But because I was in a lot of debt back then from school and uni and just bad money management, I was stuck. I got myself about 50 grand in debt. And this was, 19 years ago. So you add inflation onto that now, you're talking double. And so I'd got myself a bit lost. My dad had raised me, got me working age 6, in the pub, emptying the pool tables, the fruit machines, the pinball machines, counting up all the big 10p's when they were that big. And I loved it. And I didn't want to go to school. I never enjoyed school. I was always a bit of an outsider. I wanted to work. I wanted to earn money. I wanted to be like my dad, an entrepreneur, a hustler. This word hustler, I don't know where it's come from, but it was clearly modeled on my dad, who's like 80 now. And so my dad had raised me, he'd got me working when I was young. He taught me, if you don't ask, you don't get, and, go out and make it happen. But then you go to school and then they start, teaching you about reciting, a part of the Bible or doing calculations, and
you become part of the system.
Yeah, exactly. And you just recite what they want you.
A script, their script.
Yeah. It's memory recall, but they're programming you what they want you to memory recall. And there's no lateral thinking, creativity, and entrepreneurship. And then you get into girls. Well, I did. And so I chased them around until I was in my early 20s, and it cost me a lot of money. And then I wake up and I'm, not even 27, just about to turn. And I'm 50 grand in debt, and I'm working at my dad's pub. I'm earning 200 quid, probably spending 300 quid a week, earning 200 quid a week, getting myself more and more in debt. And sometimes you can wake up and you're 30, 40, 50 and you're like, where did my life go? And where were my big plans? Wait a minute, I was going to be an entrepreneur. Wait a minute, I was going to run my own company. Where did it all go wrong? And I a lot of people who come to me for training and mentoring, they've just, 1 degree out for 20 years, and all of a sudden you're in a relationship you're stuck in, you're not in a job you enjoy. And then we were in my dad's pub. He was carving the meat. I was doing the bar. And it just went really weird and quiet. And dad had stopped and everyone in the pub had stopped. And everyone was like, what's going on here? And you know those westerns when the doors swing open and some guy walks in with his guns and everyone goes quiet? It was like that. And then my dad just like started convulsing and screaming, and it was really not nice. And none of us knew what was going on. And I pulled him out of the pub, and I got him outside the pub, and I was like shaking. My dad's like really big. Dad. And he was like when someone's possessed, he was just possessed. Anyway, the police were called, don't know why. They beat him up, they sectioned him, they arrested him, and they diagnosed him with bipolar disorder. And this was 18 years ago. And I remember standing outside the pub watching, and I had a brown belt in martial arts there, and I was too chicken shit to do anything about it. And in my mind, I wanted to take those policemen out, and I was too chicken shit. I was just frozen. And I spent a couple of weeks hating myself, beating myself down. And then I got to the end of that self-loathing, and I thought, well, my life couldn't be any worse. I'm lonely. I've got loads of debt. I could go bust in a month. What are you going to do about it? So long story really short, I started trying to network. A couple of people I knew who were doing quite well in business. I asked them what I should do. They said property. I went to the property meeting. I met my business partner, the first one I went to. So fast forward the next 18 years. We own 340 property units. So earlier you were saying you don't have clowns on your show. Thank you. I know I'm the real deal, but
exactly.
I own 340 properties in my city. Well, rental units, because one of them's got 100 apartments.
Wow.
It's a big one, and we built that up from nothing. A lot of the deals we did were no money down. We have the UK's largest property training business, which might do 20-ish million in sales this year. It has 25 has been its best year. Things are not as easy right now with everything that's gone on in the world, but we're still running a good training business, and we get copied every week. And that's always a good sign. I've written 19 books. Money Matrix has just come out this year. I broke the world record for the longest public speech. As you know, I've got my podcast Disruptors, 1,050. I'm an old bastard, basically. I've been doing this a long time. There's loads of other stuff I've done, but I don't want this to sound like a reel off CV. But one thing I do feel is very grateful and humble, because, right now with everything's going on in the world, with all these wars, I've got an amazing life, and all right, I hustled and I built it, but I do feel really grateful. So I feel grateful to be here. Thanks for having me on your show. And hopefully we can shake up some shit for your audience.
Definitely. I was already locked in, just just listening to your story, and it's definitely a fascinating story. Definitely from my side, I understand what you've achieved and some of the biggest achievements, which is amazing. So it's great that our audience can also see that. I want to know before we go into the childhood, because I think that is always interesting to know, what stemmed the person at that age to create the person that we see today. But before that, you mentioned about the whole story of, you were in debt, and, you were you had a choice, and you decided, what am I going to do in this moment? I want to talk about that time a little bit, because definitely whilst you're grateful now, I'm sure that was a hard moment in your life where you had to almost take control, and in those situations, people don't believe in you. People around you are being negative. No one really understands what you're trying to do and where you're trying to head towards. You have to have a lot of grit and resilience. And I always say, the endurance in business is something that's not really spoken about, because sometimes it's about how long you can go, how much can you go through to get to the other side. It's not really an overnight success story. It's you're going to be thrown with curveballs after curveballs after curveballs, and you're going to have to decide how to basically move out of the way and keep moving forward. A lot of people along the way, they give up, and I always think it's fascinating to think about those people that were maybe a year away or a few months away to changing their lives, but they gave up. So I just want to talk about that time a little bit, because I think that's where probably a lot of the value will come from in being relatable to people of, actually, I'm going through a tough time right now, but I actually want to get to where Rob is as well. Yeah,
right. There's a lot
to take in from
It's
there.
all good. I'll pick it all off. So, fundamentally, I don't believe I can be broken. And I don't know where that comes from. And I definitely have moments where I'm like, holy shit, this is hard. It's lockdown 2020 and everything that the government did, and all the overspending and the high taxes and how they decimated many businesses and industries. You know, that's been quite hard business lessons for me, and I already had 15 years experience. But never at one point did I think, well, this will break me. I just thought, I'm stronger than the government. Nothing can break me. So I suppose fundamentally, I have this inner, nothing can break me. And I'm trying to work out where it comes from, because I know that's what you want to pull out of me on this show. I suppose it's a combination of faith in myself, that no matter what will happen, there's a solution. In fact, often people are looking for the opportunity and they're running away from the problem, but the problem is the opportunity. So in this last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, every morning I've woken up to a massive shitstorm fire. Theft in the business, had to fire 2 people on the Friday, 2 people quit on the Monday. You know, I won't go into details, but every day there's a fire. And now I'm just like, right, what fire's coming tomorrow? Let's go. Get my marshmallows out. I just have a different perception of what most people would deem to be problems.
But how, so sorry to interrupt you, but you know, I want to decipher between business problems and personal problems, because they're also 2 different things, right? So you're dealing with business problems on a daily basis, which is literally problem solving all day long and dealing with the biggest problems. But then also that can sometimes pass into your personal life of, let's say, relationships, let's say family, friends. You know, I think sometimes they're 2 different problems. So if we could talk about maybe both sides.
Yeah. So I personally think your experience in life is all about how you view life. So a friend of mine, you'll know him very well, has been a big guest on my show, but I won't mention his name. He says, strength is about how peaceful you can feel in times of war. How much chaos can you handle and still remain ordered and strong? And that really hits with me at the moment. We had 120 staff not long ago. I'm trying to just keep it around about the 100 mark, because once you get over 100, you become a big company, and I want to be agile. And so most people don't like having 100 staff because they think they've got 100 problems. I think I've got 100 opportunities. And if someone quits or someone isn't doing a good job or I have to fire someone, that's just the game. And it's just like playing chess. You don't cry when someone takes one of your pawns. You might have a strategy to go for their rook or their queen. And I guess because I fundamentally love business, I know I can't be broken because I'm in a game I love to play. Like if you love playing a computer game, right, you get pissed off if you get killed, but you don't throw the controller out the window and go, fuck this, I'm not playing this anymore. You'll stay up till 4 a.m. until you complete the level. And I guess that's how I see business. I fundamentally love business, and I fundamentally see it as a game, and I fundamentally know I'm fucking good at it. With still having the humility to know that I can learn from everyone at every point. Now, you talked about personal life and problems. Basically, life is either running towards your problems and solving them, or running away from your problems and your problems chasing you your whole life. So it just depends which approach you want to take. So you can work all day and not address your problems at home, and in 10 years, she'll fucking leave you. Because it's not like, unless you've got, my wife is quite independent, so she quite likes me being away, and she likes to go away without me and things like that. So maybe it's a bit different for me. But at the end of the day, there's always problems. So you have 2 choices. Don't focus and deal with the problem and just let it get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it will sort itself out by imposing itself on you. Or run towards the problem, fix the problem. Now, both are painful. attacking the problem is pain now. Leaving the problem is pain later. So there's problems in my personal life every day. There's problems in raising my children every day. There's problems in having 7 supercars every day. First world problems. There's problems in my business every day. There's problems every day. It just depends how you see problems. Now, when you do something that you know you're meant to do, that you enjoy doing, you're able to reframe what a problem is. And you see problem as opportunity instead of problem as pain or downside. So for me, business and personal is no different. I know if I'm looking after my wife and my kids, or if I'm not. And if I'm not, I have a choice. And if I choose not to deal with that problem, I have to face the consequences of that getting bigger later. Now, you want to talk about childhood. I'm basically a conflict avoiding people pleaser in terms of if you would stereotype my natural personality. Because my dad was so strong and he used to get so angry that myself and my sister and my mum were always dancing around him and avoiding the conflict and trying to appease him and calm him down when he was causing a ruckus in the pub and pissing off all the customers. We were like trying to make them all feel comfortable and happy. And when he was throwing things and smashing things, we were like, And so until the age of like probably 30, I'm like, avoiding. So I always avoid conflict in relationship. Anytime I ever dumped anyone, it was always by text. And I know that's bad. I know I'm going to get judged. I didn't have the courage to look a girl in the eye and say, this isn't working. I just kind of avoid all that confrontation. I would never ask a girl out in case she like shamed me. And I spent my whole life just dancing around everyone. So basically...
Up until what age? Would you say you like...
Well... I only learned how to face conflict and piss people off and jump into problems head on and learn conflict. Business taught me that. I think that's another reason why I love business. It's because I owe so much to business. I love property because I owe so much to property. Here's the thing, right? In your personal life, here's what you can do. And most of us do this. We do. And most people won't admit it, but they do. What they do is they go from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship, blaming their ex for the relationship. And then they go into a new relationship, and then that ends and they blame their ex. And they go to a new one, and then that ends and they blame their ex.
No accountability.
Yeah. They never actually look at themselves in the mirror and own their own issues. But you can. There's 7 billion people in the world. So if you have 20 relationships in your life, which is quite a lot, you could have 30 relationships, piss 29 exes off, and you can get away with it. You can't get away with continually being an idiot in business because you end up losing customers and losing money. So when
there's consequences, basically.
Yeah, there's consequences which you can't run away from, whereas you can run away from them in your personal life because you can just leave that person and expect this new person to save your life. So business taught me, like when a customer's paid 15 grand and they're on social media bitching, I've got to phone them up and turn them around. I can't just fucking block them because then they're going to go and talk shit about my... So, you learn, okay, that's painful. Right, call them up. Deal with it. Turn them around. When you've got a legal case. Because if anyone's sitting here going, I don't have client problems and I've never had any legal cases, well, then you're too fucking small. You don't have a real business. Because believe me, when you have a certain size, you have a legal department and you have a customer complaints department. So business taught me to be decisive, to deal with problems head on, to piss people off. This is another thing. Like some people seem to be naturally good at pissing people off. People like Andrew Tate. He likes pissing people off. He doesn't really care. I know that.
He likes a reaction.
Said that, yeah. Whereas I don't want to piss anyone off. And many people listening probably won't want to. They naturally.
So would you say natural people pleaser, basically?
Yeah, that's my default.
At the foundation, yeah.
Yeah. But
because of the upbringing.
Yeah, because of how my dad was so strong.
Got you.
But
I think I'm very similar, by the way. That's why I'm digging deeper.
Well,
at my nature.
So here's the thing. Being a people pleaser, in many ways, is good because your products will be good. Your customer service will be good because you care.
B2B, yeah, like you actually care.
You care.
You go above and beyond.
Because one of the best... People always ask me, what's one of the best tips to be rich? Give a fuck. Care. Be great. These things that 20 years ago everyone was talking about, no one's really talking about that anymore. They're talking about gimmicks and hacks and virality and beef. All that's fine. But if you fundamentally don't care and you don't have a great product, you will get found out, and you'll get found out by millions of people. So yeah, business has just taught me to be strong. And it's actually good if you care, but it's not good if you care too much. You know, it's good if you want to please people, but not good if you want to please people too much, because you please people too much, you self-sacrifice. So yeah, I've sort of wrestled with that. But yeah, business has made me hard.
You know, going to that self-sacrifice part where you said, obviously, you're kind of giving up something to please someone else, essentially, like, especially in business. Like, let's say a client wants something and you're going to go out of your way and bend over backwards to get it done. But
only if it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you go out of your way and bend over backwards for a client, next they want you to pull your pants down, next bend over, and next cough.
Yeah.
Because
so there has to be a balance.
Really careful.
But having said that, though, do you think that maybe it's needed, that personality type is almost needed in part of the business, maybe at the start, where you have to go above and beyond, and then eventually once you earn your stripes and now they're coming to you, then it's like, okay, now actually I can actually put my foot down and actually have a better balance and put rules in place and, you know, etc., etc.
Yeah, well, the strategic advantage you have when you're small is that you're small. And if you care more, then that's how you grow. So Ferrari, they don't care about you. In fact, if you're a celebrity and you buy a Ferrari and you change the exhaust, they will ban you from buying another Ferrari. They have banned Justin Bieber and these mega celebrities from buying Ferraris for slightly after marketing them. They don't fucking care because they are Ferrari. And to be honest, when you are Ferrari, you can be that arrogant. It's part of your brand. But you can't be that arrogant when you start a business and you're, oh, you want to change the exhaust? Let me help you fit it myself. So it's a strategic advantage when you start to care and to go above and beyond. But then you get to a point where you build a brand and you have more demand than supply, and then you can be like, well, you know, oh, you want to buy a Richard Mille, you can wait 5 years and you can pay 100 grand over list. Oh, and you have to buy 3 Richard Milles first before you get the one you want. So it all depends where you are in business. But I think if you lose the ability to care and connect with your people, that's a dangerous game. And so people like you and I, we're never going to be able to fuck people over at a big level. It's going to be impossible for us, even if we wanted to. Like if you and I could get paid $1 billion just to fuck over 10,000 people in the UK and then we could bugger off to Dubai with our $1 billion, we wouldn't do it because we couldn't live with ourselves. It would hurt too much to hurt people. So even to this day, I get involved in my customer services department. Even to this day, I phone clients. You know, if I feel like we've wronged them. I've spent 2 days with one guy at the moment, just back and forth on WhatsApps, just to want to try and smooth things over. But the thing is, I want to be in this industry for the rest of my life. And I want to be helping as many people on this planet start and scale their business and get better financial knowledge.
It's longevity.
Exactly. So I won't use gimmicks. I won't use hard sales tactics because I know I could make more money in the short term. But what about, I mean, I've been in this business 20 years. No one else... There's a few who are like 60, but to be in this business 20 years, it's 0.0001% club.
Why do you care so much about?
Because I like to be liked.
No, okay, that's an interesting one. But like, aside from that, like, why do you care so much about the content? Because you're making crazy money, like from a business point of view, right? And we were just speaking off camera where I was saying, you know, for me, the way I structure now the podcast is seasons because, you know, ultimately I'm running a business every single day.
So am I.
Exactly. But like really...
14.
Yeah,
14
but like you're constantly churning out content, constantly, you know, giving people value. And so does that actually go back to your nature as well? Like, because you actually want to be liked? Because obviously now at this point, you know, you've got FU money. Like it's not even like on a deeper level, like you've actually got the money. So you've got the validation.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've got the fuck you money, but I'd quite like the motherfucking fuck you money. So people always assume...
Do you care about legacy more?
I'll come back to that in a moment.
Cool.
People always assume when you've got enough money, that's enough. You'll know when you get money, you want more. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone talks like there's something wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting more cars and more houses and more money. Because if you can offer a great product and service and give people value and your reward is more cars, more money, more houses, then it's actually good for your industry for you to have more money, more cars, more houses because you have more customers who you serve. So for me, money, cars and houses, I'm never going to stop, and watches. I'm never going to stop wanting more of that. But I pay myself as a reward. So I don't buy it with money I haven't got. And even when I've got loads of money, I'll be like, right, I need to write another book, or I want to move from 20 to 25 in sales. And when I do, I'll get myself a Ferrari F40 or whatever. And because for me, I'm quite linked to, I can bribe myself quite easily. So if I'm just aimlessly trying to run and grow my business, don't really make sense. But if I go from A to B and I get a Ferrari F40 or a Richard Mille RM72, all of a sudden it all makes complete sense to me, and I can see that, so it's just knowing what focuses you. So I love money. I'm going to make tons more of it. I know that my money will stop when my service and value stops, because money flows to value. So people don't understand that, because people want to be paid more money, but they're not prepared to do more value. But yeah, of course, legacy. Now, this one's a bit of a paradox. On the one hand, I want to be remembered. I want to be specifically remembered for helping as many people on this planet start and scale their business and get better financial knowledge. I want billions of people to have made more money and manage money better from the work that I do. But in 500 years, no one's going to give a fuck and no one's going to remember me. So when I'm like on a mission,
even your grave, I think even your grave on a dark level is like 100 years, right?
Yeah, and then it'll be gone.
Yeah,
and then they'll take a graveyard and they'll build a building on it. and I will be the foundations of the buildings that I own, and the worms will eat me, or my ash will get scattered. But some people are really scared of that day, because what your legacy is what's left. So the last time someone mentions your name, that's the end of your legacy. Now, for some people, it's 3 years after they die, and for some people, it's 1,000 years after they die. If you think about it, though, in enough time, we're all forgotten. So here's the way I look at it. I want to build a legacy, and I want my school and my university and my Rob.team platform and all my books and education, I want them to live for hundreds of years. But when I think my problems are a bit big, or I'm getting stressed or anxious or worried or pissed off, I remember in 100 years we'll all be gone and no one will give a fuck. And that's quite a good thing to just send to you to make your problems small. There's two things that will make your problems small. Number one, make your mission big. The bigger your mission, the smaller even the bigger problems are. But number two, remember, we'll all be ash and dirt in 500 years and no one will give a fuck. So when you're worried about what this person thinks about you, or you're worried that you said something on social media and you've got a bit of trolling, in 50 minutes, no one will remember. And I think sometimes we place too much importance on these little things.
Love that. I want to now talk about, whilst obviously during your business years, I think you've achieved lots of different things, and one of those things is property. I want to talk a little bit about that, because obviously the property market is very unique at the moment in the UK.
Because it keeps going up.
Yeah,
because you can make loads of money out of it.
Yeah, I mean, what's your words of wisdom in terms of like property and where the property market is at the moment? And let's say I'm a layman person, I'm in my 25 to 40, and I haven't got on the property ladder yet, or I haven't got an investment property or whatever it is. Where do I begin?
So the first thing is, don't wait to buy property and wait. People think they're too old to start, but they don't realize that today are the youngest they'll ever be. And the thing with a property portfolio or some kind of investment into property is it's both easy and hard. Let's say you know nothing about property. You can walk into an estate agent, make an offer on a house, pay 10% too much, and through their in-house broker, as long as you got the money, in 8 weeks, you've got a house. You can be a complete clown, not know what you're fucking doing, overpay for a house, live in it for 10 years or 15 years, and it will double in value. So on the one hand, property is that fucking easy in the UK. The laws are good. The conveyancing and the purchasing process is relatively easy compared to a lot of wilder, more European countries or whatever. On the other hand, people can see you coming a mile off if you're a clown, and buying property well is hard. So the first thing I'd say is go and start viewing houses and go and see your local estate agent and go and put some offers in, because you can. But the next thing I'd say is learn from someone who's done it. Like, I have a go-to rule if I want to learn something and I don't know how to do it. I find someone who's done it and I learn from them. Because if you try it yourself, you don't know what you don't know, so therefore you're going to mess it up. You've also got to spend all that time and energy relearning it. You definitely don't listen to anyone who's got something to say but has not got any trousers to back it up. So the second thing you do is you're going to learn. So you're going to listen to podcasts, you're going to go on courses, you're going to get a mentor, you're going to read the books. If you go on Amazon, type Rob Moore property, you'll find I've written quite a few property books. It's an easy place to start. It's the second thing you do. The third thing you're going to do is you're going to network. So they say your network is your net worth. And you never know where you're going to meet your business partner. I met him at the very first property meeting I went to, and he financed our first 20 properties for us. And we partnered up. You never know where you're going to meet a dragon, an angel, a vulture, an investor, a partner, a financer. Could be at your local Rotary Club, could be at your local Progressive Property Network meeting. So that is really important. And then you're going to just keep improving every day. By the yard, it's hard. By the inch, it's a cinch. So every day, do something extra. You know, you go down the gym, you do a bit extra on your weights. In 3 or 5 years, you're ripped. I'm teaching my son that at the moment. So my son is 13, and I said to him, if you do press-ups every day until you're 18, I'll give you 10 grand. And the first few days he was well up for it, and he was going from 15 press-ups to 17 to 19 to 23. And then he got a bit fatigued, and I had to keep chasing him to do his press-ups. And now he's doing his press-ups on his own. And if he carries on, by the time he's 18, he'll probably be able to do 1,000 press-ups in one set. I would have thought, if you just think, even if you just add it all up. Actually, I'll work this out. This is the power of compounding. If you start today and do one press-up, how many press-ups in total do you reckon you'd have done in 1 year?
Well, it depends on how many you do per day.
You do one more per day. 1 on day 1, 2 on day 2, 3 on day 3, 4 on day 4, 5 on day 5.
I'm not sure what the number is.
66,700 and odd press-ups.
Wow.
By doing one extra.
That's crazy.
A day. So this is the thing people miss.
Consistency is key.
Yes. Consistency is a combination of consistency, persistence, and resilience.
Love that.
So consistency means doing the same boring thing over and over. Persistence means keep going when it gets hard or difficult. And then resilience is built the more boredom you endure and hardship you endure. People don't know the difference between consistency and persistence. They're different. Some people find consistency really easy, but persistence really hard. I find consistency really hard because I like variety. I find persistence really easy. So, earlier I said, I just believe I can't be broken. It's because I get this sadistic pleasure in people telling me I can't. I get sadistic pleasure in people setting up in business against me. I get sadistic pleasure out of people critiquing me and trolling me and hating on me in line. I just use it all as fuel, and it just tends to make me more powerful. But tell me to do the same thing the same way for 932 days straight, one press up extra every day. I find that really hard personally. And they're different.
Wow, that's crazy. And it's amazing that you're passing that wisdom now onto the next generation as well. Okay, really interesting about the property stuff. I do want to dive in a bit more to money as a whole. Because you did mention that, at one point you were in debt, and you obviously climbed your way out of that. I think obviously there's so many different perspectives on debt. Some people say debt is good. Some people say debt is bad. different religions also have beliefs on it. I mean, Islam,
usury.
They don't believe in obviously that. But in the UK, it's almost inevitable. It's almost unavoidable. Or let's say the West, but particularly the UK. You have to go through this kind of matrix. Shout out Andrew Tate, but it's the reality, which is, you're having to almost get stuck, and most people get stuck, and they literally die where their parents were born, and literally nothing changes. Like they are still stuck in where they grew up, basically where they were born, and they have no ambition to get out of that either. And then they become a slave to the system. They and also actually links to property a little bit, which is what's the perspective on rent versus mortgage when it's for you to live in, because there's a lot of perspectives on that. But anyway, the point is that a lot of people get stuck in the system, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's credit card, whether it's debt, whether it's payday loans, whether it's gambling, whether it's vices. We are almost a victim to the matrix. So what's your thoughts on that?
Which part specifically?
All of it. All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
You love to throw me 5 questions
Sorry,
at once.
man. You know what it is? Sorry. I can just listen to you talking for ages, and I'd rather just give you the ammo, and then you just kind of go off.
Give me the ammo.
Yeah,
I'll
you just
fire
go off.
at will. All right, let's try and unpick that debt. So there's 2 types of debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt. I don't believe that good debt is usury. One, it's not my upbringing on my faith, and I respect any upbringing and faith that thinks that it is. But if I can borrow money, and I can make money on the borrowed money, and the lender can make money on the loaned money, that's called a win-win, and that's basically a business transaction. Where lending is usury, in my opinion, is where the central banks and the governments, aka the matrix, make you believe that borrowing this money for this house to live in and this car and this conservatory is good for you, but it's a trap, and you end up stuck for the rest of your life, and you die and you pay the rest in taxes. I believe that's usury. The greatest usury is committed by central banks and governments, because they make out, save money with us, you'll look after your future, we'll take care of your pension. Why is it, right? Get this. How can interest rates be 5%? Then when you give your money to the bank in savings, they give you 1.5%, but they can lend it to you to buy a house at 8%, and they can lend it to you to buy a car at 10%. So rates are 5%, they'll give you 1.5% interest, but then they'll charge you 8 to 10 in what they lend to you or more. That's a fucking scam. That's the system. So all of that stuff for me is usury at a much greater level. Love the word usury. So bad debt is usury. Bad debt will keep you broke, but needing the system to keep borrowing the money. And now, because of inflation and the cost of living, people are borrowing money from the banks just for paying food and general living. You should be using the banks the other way. They don't give a fuck about you. So you should be going to them saying, right, lend me this money. I'll invest it in property or whatever I can, and I'll get a return, and I'll keep you paying, and you can have 5%, and I'm going to earn 15%. So I figured out 17 years ago, don't buy anything that's depreciating or a liability or a consumable on debt, but borrow as much money as I can for real estate, business, or any other asset that I know I can leverage. And that's why I have 340 property units now. Now, here's the thing. When you borrow £1 million, you have the problem. When you borrow 100 million quid, the fucking bank has the problem. Because the bank's like, oh, Mr. Moore, we need to talk about repayment. If it's $1 million, they'll be like, whatever, just repo the guy. But they're going to be nice to me the more money they've loaned me. So paradoxically, it's better to have larger loans than it is small loans. We have a big commercial facility with a big loan on this 100 apartment block. So that's how I feel about debt and money. Use the system instead of the system using you. That's why I wrote Money Matrix, to expose how the system works. The system's actually really clever. It's a great business model. It's just that you're complicit, and you didn't buy in, and you didn't get a choice, and you've been hypnotized with propaganda to believe it's for you, but it's not. The bank is not a public service. It is a for-profit organization. It wants maximum shareholder value, and it doesn't care about you. And that's good to know. Right, let's go on whether you should rent or own your own home. If you're 21 and you want to travel and, you're making a few grand a month but not a lot of money, don't go and buy a house and put yourself in a 30-year mortgage until you know where you want to be, where you want to raise your family, and you've got some really good income coming in. However, if you're in your 30s and 40s or a bit older, rent is dead money. And as soon as you're settled, you definitely do want to buy a property in the UK because it doubles every 12 to 15 years. And money you pay into a mortgage will ultimately pay it down over time. Here's the thing people don't understand. People get that if you rent, it's dead money. And if you pay off a mortgage, some of it is dead, but some of it is paying off the mortgage. I think people get that. Here's what they don't get. If you don't own a house, inflation is pushing your rent up. So your rent's going to go up every year. Whereas if you own a house, your mortgage that you pay is going to stay the same, but inflation's going to pay it off for you. So here's something most people don't know. When inflation was over 20% in 2020, I've got tens of millions of pounds worth of mortgages. I didn't really say anything about this because I thought, well, this is quite good. But if inflation is 10% and I've got tens of millions of pounds worth of mortgages, essentially the government are paying my mortgages off by millions a year. So if you have mortgages, inflation pays it off. It doesn't physically give you the money. It just reduces the value of the debt. And as we all know, the banks won't pay off their own debt. I think the UK are 3 trillion in debt. I think America's like 300 trillion in debt. They'll never pay that off.
It's just fake money.
It's just fake money. I mean, it's real debt in that they owe it to someone.
Yeah.
But
it's like it goes then to the central bank, and then who does the central bank owe? Like it's just all a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it is debt and it is owed. So they have two choices. They can either pay it back or they can just keep inflation high enough so that the value of it erodes. If I lend you 100 grand and I take 50 years to pay it off, what could 100 grand buy you 50 years ago? Well, I'll tell you, 3 grand could buy you a house 50 years ago. Nearly 3 grand, maybe 5 grand. So 100 grand now in 50 years, it's probably not even going to buy a cheap car. It's probably not even going to buy those AirPods. You've got those new AirPods in 50 years. So the longer I have the loan, the more inflation is reducing the value of the loan. That's one of the reasons why it's really good to own a home, and all these American influencers don't tell you that.
What's your thoughts on like the gap between salary or like salary increases versus inflation? Because obviously we're in business, but there's a lot of people that are in jobs, and there's people striking left, right, center in all different job roles. Obviously inflation benefits the system, but then at what point does that all balance out, or does it balance out? Because like when you're talking about the properties that were like 5k a month, 5k to buy, like the salary was like 3-4 times what the house was worth. So it's that's one thing I want to know your opinion on.
Right. Okay. So there's 2 types of inflation, and one of them no one understands. The first type of inflation is what the government tell you the spending power is. So as inflation goes up, spending power goes down. Prices go up and it becomes more expensive, therefore your relative spending goes down. But there's another type of inflation, and that is the inflation that you decide you're going to create. If you work hard and you create value, you could get a 30% pay rise this year. So your inflation is 30% because you fucking decided. Because you decided to do 10 hours overtime. You decided to give your boss some ideas that made money. You decided to get on the phone and get commissions, and you got a 30% pay rise. So you've just created 30% of value. So when I look at inflation, I'm like, oh, it's 5%, not 3%. Fuck inflation. I just need to make sure I earn 10% or 20% or 30% more. So victims and people who are stuck in the system and stuck in low-level jobs are like, oh, well, my salary needs to go up 3.2% because that's inflation. Whereas I go, well, I'm just going to earn 50% more this year. So you don't want to be getting in the weeds of inflation. Also, for me, you've got to put your prices up 5 to 10% a year. Rolex will do it. Ferrari will do it. They know inflation is 3, so they know if they put their prices up 5 to 8, they're actually putting their prices up 3 to 5. And Rolex do it every year, and Ferrari do it every year. And sometimes they jump at 10 or 20%. I mean, my Lamborghini Aventador was 320 grand new. The Revuelto that's just replaced it is 550 grand with the same spec. It's essentially the same car, but a newer version. It is absolutely crazy. Because they've decided. What's the justification now for the standard V12 that was 300 odd grand to be 550 grand?
Supply and demand, right?
Decided. And they can say inflation and this and that. No, they decided. And that's the kind of business you want to be in, where you decide what your prices are. The next thing about inflation is, if they say it's 3, it's 6. Because they're not going to tell you what it really is, because it makes them look bad.
Yeah.
By the way, everything has a downside and an upside. So there's an upside to inflation. Everyone thinks inflation is bad. When you've got tens of millions of pounds worth of mortgages like me, inflation is good. All right, my bread and cheese has gone up by 3%. Oh, but my mortgage has just been paid off 3 million, in this last 3 years by inflation. So you shouldn't see any monetary policy. Interest rates, if they're high, it's good if you're lending. If it's low, it's good if you're borrowing. So everything has an upside and a downside. But I just look at inflation and go, well, they're not adding people's mortgages into it. They're not adding London hotels into it. I normally like to stay in a hotel here, King's Cross, 4-stroke 5-star, 350 a night. Do it with Bonvoy, rack up my points, good deal. I could easily spend 700 a night. It wouldn't be any better. It would just be a bit bigger. I stay on my own anyway. Those rooms have gone up now from 300 a night to 550 a night overnight. That's not 3% inflation. Taxis now are they've gone up a lot in London. King's Cross to here, 30 quid. That would have been 20 quid.
Do you think that's partially
6 to 12 months ago?
This time, do you think that's partially because some services or some operators were not making money during COVID? So, like, for example, airlines, they're trying to really maximize now because they almost had to pay back the losses.
Maybe. I mean, look, if I'm a taxi driver, I'm a London hotel, and I've got an opportunity to put my prices up and get away with it, I'm going to. I don't really resent them because the market will correct it. Like, I'm not going to those hotels that are 550 a night when they're really 350 a value.
So they'll have to drop their prices if they're
if everyone else does that. I mean, obviously if I'm going with my wife, I'll stay somewhere that's 5-star and 700 a night or whatever. But I mean, some of these average 5-star rooms are now 1,800 a night. Some of them are 3 grand a night. Now, obviously I'm talking about my lifestyle, but look at what you buy. No one's going to say, oh, well, it's only gone up 3%. Everyone knows it's more. And let's say, let's even argue the case. Let's say you've been really tight with your spending and actually you're not buying anything that's gone up. You're only buying things that haven't gone up with inflation. But your mortgage goes from a 1.7% fixed rate to an 8% variable, which many people's mortgages are now. And your mortgage is your biggest expense. And you've gone up from 700 a month to 2,000 a month. That's not 3% inflation. That is 300% inflation to you individually.
That's crippling, by the way. That
of course
kind
it
of
is.
Growth for anyone, basically.
Yeah.
Even if it's a business.
And that's what's happened with interest rates. And then banks stick their margin on top. Like I said, interest rates are 5. They give you 1.5 in savings, but they charge you 8 to 10 on houses and cars. So inflation really is what you decide it to be.
Okay. Really like that. I want to now focus more on, I think, people that are go-getters, people that are they really want to achieve success. Although there's so much value you've given, even for example, what you've taught your son and stuff like that, how, or shall I say, what do you think is the recipe to success? If you could put it down to one thing, like, going back to what you said about push-ups, you mentioned like if you were to do it an extra one every day. I also look at business like that. Like people, they will never see the graft and the time spent in the business, and often it's, overnight success really doesn't exist. I mean, it can do, but it's a small % of people in business, and often like when you're clawing away every day, it's those little things and it's those little choices, those little habits, those decisions every day that you say, no, I'm going to focus on this, or I'm going to put this work in, or I'm going to add to this, and that compounds and leads to long-term success. So for me, like going back to what you said, it was persistency. I love that because going into my story, I mean, some of my clients could probably vouch for this, but like, some of the reasons why I was able to reach some of the success in business was because of persistence, because I emailed every year, even though they didn't respond, because I stayed on top of them, because I chased, because I gave that extra touch point. And even though they didn't recognize me or respond, it was like they were acknowledging it. And when they were ready, then they got in touch with me. And that's one of the things I love also, like about, personal branding and social media, is like, that can actually happen because, like, for example, with me, I was always clawing away in business, but then COVID happened and I thought, you know what, I'm going to ramp up the podcast. I'm going to go crazy with the personal brand. I'm going to put out content. And I did that consistently whilst, everyone was sitting at home. And that was almost like my peak. And then as soon as the first lockdown ended, my company spiked. And then we went back into lockdown, and then we came back out of lockdown, and then the same thing happened. So persistency, consistency, I love all of that. But what if you could nail it onto one thing like that made it for you? What would you say what would be?
That's actually really easy. And I think people overcomplicate a lot of things. The recipe to success is find someone who's got what you want and go find out how they did it. There's a saying, success leaves clues. And most small businesses fail because they're trying to reinvent the wheel, and they're trying to do something that's been proven by someone else a different way. That's either naivety or arrogance. But someone's built a business that's 10 times as big as yours, and you want a business like that, then you hustle to get a lunch with them, or you watch their TikToks and read their books, and essentially you avoid their mistakes because they guide you around them, and you copy the traits of the greats. And then on that journey, you find your own uniqueness as you go up the snakes and ladders game. And then as you're going up the game of snakes and ladders, following someone who's successful and modeling what they do, you realize you need a couple more people to model what they do, because you need more breadth, or you might have learned about sales from one person, but now you need to learn about marketing. And so, like at the moment, AI is something I'm really learning, and I'm not going to try and figure it out myself. There's someone who's mastered AI, or a firm. I'm going to learn from them, and I'll pay whatever I need to pay, because people try and avoid paying, but free advice is worth every penny. When you pay attention. But for me, what paying is its speed and access. So if I pay you to teach me AI, one, I'm getting it done quicker than doing it on my own. And two, I'm going to get access to whoever taught you, or whatever network you can get me in. So the only thing I have to figure out is, do you know AI? Or are you selling me that you do, but you don't? And that's easier to figure out now with social media. So the recipe to success is to not fail yourself and learn from the mistakes of others who've already been there.
And online education, obviously you're a big advocate of it. I've basically just launched Social Awaken Academy, which is, we're going to be launching a course on social media. And, I stayed away from doing it for a long time.
Why?
I used to do like physical workshops, and I felt like I was giving more value because it was in person. And I felt that course almost had a bad stigma around it.
Not to me.
Even
I'm
like,
a course junkie.
yeah, I
I
don't know.
love going on courses.
Yeah, like because
The more you
obviously,
learn, the more you
no,
learn.
but see, what happened is that a lot of people were selling courses and there was no value that people were getting out of it. So
why did that not
it became
make...
a scam. Do you
Yeah,
see
but
what I mean?
Yeah, but you get what you focus on.
Yeah,
So if I said to you, go and find all the internet scams and all the online course scammers, you could find that really easily.
exactly.
If I said to you, go and find the good course providers, you could find that just as easily.
Definitely.
And also, I take the view, if there's an industry and there's plenty of scammers in it, go fucking clean it up. Go and do it legitimately. Sure. Go do it for real and show everyone how it should be done. The way I see it.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with what you said about like free versus paid. You know, for me, it was ultimately that, look, I can't work with everyone, like as a client, right? And I only operate in 2 countries in the world, which is still good, but there's so much more. Like when you see, I'm sure you see that as well with your podcast, which is like sometimes you'll see like where people are listening and you're like, wow, like this is crazy. Like how did this get to this part of the world? How did someone find it? Like, and I feel like it's a value thing of, you know, actually I want to benefit people that I can't work with them, but you know, maybe they're too small or maybe they're somewhere I don't operate and stuff like that. So, you know, we've now launched that. So I want to know your perspective on online education. Obviously, you're an advocate for it, but you know,
well, I'm an advocate for the right education.
Of course. But
yeah.
like, you know, obviously you have the traditional institutions like the universities, and you know, people say that's a scam in some perspective. So, what is your perspective basically on online education?
I think if you want to be a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, an accountant, then the university education system is the right way to go. You can't go and do a course on being a doctor, just look at a few online videos and just send me the knife. Let's just try this, start now, get perfect later. So I don't agree with when people say online and university education is a scam. I think they don't teach you to be enterprising. They don't teach you to think laterally. They don't teach you to be creative. They don't teach you to properly solve problems. From the education that I got, there might be other providers that do teach that now. But you can't really be an entrepreneur in the classroom. You can only be an entrepreneur on the streets. You can't learn to fight without throwing a punch. So being a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, an accountant, that is something that's easier to teach conventionally. Also, the university and education system is built to teach the jobs it requires to function society. And so it kind of works like that. But times have changed. So it's this simple. Only learn on online education from someone who's been there and done it. And there are loads of TikTokers who don't even have pubes yet trying to teach you how to be a millionaire. Really? I see them and they're kids. What do they know? I don't blame them for the hustle and for trying to launch, as long as they're not lying. We all have to start somewhere. Every winner was once a beginner. Every master was once a disaster. But like, education is simple. Learn from someone who's done it. There's nothing really more to say on it. So whether it's online or face-to-face or at college or university, learn from someone who's done it. Now, the fundamental problem I have with college and university is that there's people teaching about business and entrepreneurship. They don't even run a fucking business. They're institutionalized by the system, teaching a theory that the system has put into semesters and modules. They don't even run a business. They don't even earn 50 grand. I make 50 grand in an hour. But I'm not teaching at college or university. So, have they done it? Learn from them. Now, there are some that have done it that don't want you to teach. There are some that have done it that don't want to teach it to you, like billionaires who avoid tax. There are some that teach it that haven't done it. And there are some that have done it and will teach it. You want to find the ones that have done it and will teach it.
Love that. Honestly, that was great. Aside from your books, do you have a favorite book?
That's the shittest question I ever get.
Why?
Because my books are the best.
Okay, aside from yours,
No,
obviously.
my books.
Okay, which one of your own books is your favorite? Or let's say, the one that you have maybe the most connection with, like, you know, how a rapper would have a certain album that, you know, that's their favorite.
So I've got 19 babies. I've written
do.
19 books. And my book, Money, probably is my most globally acclaimed book. I think it's translated into 15 languages. It was a big bestseller. It was my deepest body of work, original manuscript, 250,000 words. They got it down to just under 100. It's a proper meaty book. You know these modern books, like little pamphlets. People write 30,000 word books. No, I write big books. So probably Money. Well, people always ask me, apart from your own books, I haven't charged you to be here. Let me plug my own books.
For sure.
Now, the reason as well why this actually isn't a good question, I'm not criticising you, I'd just like to be honest. The reason it's not a good question is, the answer is it depends when you read it and where you were at.
What you gained.
So right now, I want to read books from people who are worth 100 million to 100 billion. But when you start when you start learning about money, Think and Grow Rich is great. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is great. Everyone knows there's a seminal books. If you want to go from 1 to 5 million, Scaling Up via Vern Harnish is you know a good book.
Different levels.
Yeah, it depends what you need at the time.
Got you.
Like right now, I'll probably be reading books on AI and things like that. So it depends where you are in your journey.
Okay, let's say in terms of your instrumental part of you going from broke to, or in debt to kind of success. If you were to look back, or even, I mean, obviously, of course, your books, but like, just for you, like, where do you think someone should begin, basically? Like, let's say out of the series of your books, let's say I'm someone now, I'm 18, or I've graduated, or I've actually had that unlock where, you know, actually I want to do more in my life. It might be 30 years old, but where do they begin? Which book do they pick up of yours?
Probably Money or Life Leverage. Life Leverage is about building a business but outsourcing and leveraging as opposed to 24/7 grind. And then Money, there's always an element of making money and being an entrepreneur in all of my books because that's fundamentally what I do. So if you want to start a business, Life Leverage. If you want to make money. And then if you just want your mind opened and you're at the start of your journey, I would say Think and Grow Rich is a seminal classic. And if you want to kind of get into the property game, other than my property books, probably Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the classic. I mean, I had Robert Kiyosaki on my show. Sold 40 million books. Think and Grow Rich is one of the all-time bestsellers. And that sold 15 million copies, I think, up until about, 2 years ago. I think that's what it said on the cover, 15 million copies sold worldwide. Rich Dad, Poor Dad sold 40 million copies. That's bonkers.
Guys, just to interrupt the episode, I just want to remind you that Social Awaken Academy has officially launched, starting with our first course, Grow Your Brand with Social Media. This course is something I'm really, really excited about because I've literally put all my knowledge and expertise that I've learned over the years into this course, as well as my expert team. So you definitely need to check it out. socialawakenacademy.com. All the links are also in the description. Rob, I could literally sit here and talk to you all day, but obviously it's getting quite hot as well.
I can take the heat. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Why don't you have any notes written down when you ask me questions?
I like for it to be organic. I like for it to be a genuine conversation. It also helps me when I'm in the business realm, because in the business world, you can have notes, but you have to be able to engage. You have to be able to be quick on your feet. You have to be able to know what you're talking about. And I also don't over-research my guests. I mean, you obviously, I've seen you over the years, but like normally, if it's someone like I've just come across or I actually like their stuff, I may not look into them too much. Like I had Khalid Al-Amri, episode 50. He's like a big content creator in Dubai. And he hardly does podcasts. And there was like things I genuinely didn't know about him. I didn't know that he had a Scottish mother, for example. And he was like, how did you not know that? And I was like, actually, you know what? Because I don't go so deep where I know everything about them, because I actually want to learn myself, and I actually want to ask the questions that I actually want to know selfishly. And I'm sure that if I selfishly want to know those questions, or I have those questions for you, then that's going to benefit someone out there, you know? That's how I've always done my approach. I think notes works for some people. I also feel like in my life, like I want to get to the point where I'm, you know, a big public speaker, like I'm touring, I'm doing things like I've always looked up to like the likes of Tony Robbins and people like that, where they're really impacting people, and people like yourself. So I feel like you can't really have notes all the time. In short.
All right.
What do you think of that? Is that wrong? Should I have notes?
There's no wrong. This is your show. You roll how you roll.
Of course, but you're a veteran in the game, over 1,000 episodes, so I can learn something from you.
Yeah, well, sometimes I don't overly research my guests because I want that element of surprise. Also, an underrated skill as a podcaster is be able to ask the simple question, or the question that could make you look a little bit dumb for asking it. And I always like to have that approach where I'm prepared to ask without assuming I should know. And doing too much research can sometimes get you a bit...
Sometimes you think everyone might know as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So sometimes I don't do too much research. Sometimes I do a lot of research. I do a lot of research on the questions, though. A lot. And I have a team that do the research on the questions. And I spend a lot of time ordering and curating the questions. And it's always organic and it flows how it wants. But I nearly always get all the questions asked.
Yes, like the general kind of touch points.
Yeah, because I want to make sure I don't miss anything.
Of course.
Like if I'm flying out to Romania to interview Andrew Tate,
and
I miss 4 or 5 of the really big parts, I'm an idiot.
I agree.
So I would never just go and do something like that without, you know, having my notes. Yeah, but, you know, you're adept without needing notes.
It's just a genuine conversation, you know, for me. But like you said, there's no wrong or right answer. Out of all the 1,000 episodes, do any come to mind? Because a lot of people ask me that, like, oh, what's your favorite podcast? What's your favorite episode? Does that ever come to mind for you? Or do you see it as like every episode brought its own value?
Yeah. No, not every episode brought its own value, because there are a few episodes where, you know, maybe it didn't work. Either because you didn't gel, or because sometimes guests there's just not enough meat in it, or sometimes they're on a massive self-promotion push and you can just see they're engineering everything.
Saying the same things over.
Yeah, and just trying to, or like that, where they just say the same PR, or you don't get anything new. So no, not every guest is. It doesn't always work how you'd like it. Sometimes it works out better than you'd like it. So it depends on the definition, but probably pound for pound, the best episodes were Andrew and Tristan Tate. I've interviewed Andrew now for...
I love those episodes, actually.
8 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I watched all of it, but most of it, especially the Andrew one. I definitely watched that from start to finish.
Tristan one, a lot of people preferred his.
Really? I broke it down into days. Like, I was listening to like an hour a day, and that was really good.
Yeah. And I just enjoy it because it's a challenge as an interviewer. It's obviously controversial and topical.
And you're not a clown.
Thank you. And I'm not a clown. And like, I tripped Andrew up on a few things. I had him running around a bit.
Yeah, you went deep. Like, you didn't just ask the surface level question.
No. But, you know, I've had some... Nigel Farage has been on my show a few times, and that's done really well.
You had him recently, right?
We published recently, but that wasn't... Yeah, we published recently. But I think he's been on my show 3 times. Actually, some of the best content doesn't go viral.
You had Tuka Suleiman, you had
Tuka,
so many.
Tuka, one of the top dragons. That didn't go wild, but that was good. See,
great content.
If it's great content, I'm okay if it doesn't go wild.
good catalogue.
Yeah,
Be proud of
exactly.
it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm proud of the work. It's like art you did that you liked but wasn't commercial. I can live with myself. Like I interviewed James Watt of Brewdog, £400 million business, 4,000 staff, cool guy, like really fucking proper hardcore entrepreneur. Like I resonated with everything he said. That didn't go viral yet, but that's good art. Will.i.am. That didn't go viral, should have done. That's good art. Like 21 billionaires, not all of them went viral, but that's good art. And then you get the Nigel Farage. I mean, my conversations with Nigel are good and we're friends. And so there's that rapport there. The ones that frustrate me are the ones that maybe I know I'm kind of doing it for the virality a bit. It's not my ideal guest. And then they don't fucking go viral. And you're like, I feel like a bit of a whore. If I'm going to be a whore, I need it to go viral. Because that's the game we're playing.
Of course.
And your favourite guest won't necessarily be the most viral
Correct. 100%.
So yeah, you got to do some of the episodes. You got to do selfishly for you.
Yeah.
Because if you sit at the end of this and you think, well, if this goes viral, great, but I don't care because I thought it was good. You're winning.
Yeah, for sure.
But at some point you're going to be faced with, you can get someone on a show, and you know it's got a high chance of going viral, but you also know the content's going to be a bit vacuous or clickbaity or whatever. And every now and again, you probably got to play that game if you want to grow. Because I ask myself this a lot. So I can have 5 million views on YouTube. I can have 15 million views on TikTok. I can get similar numbers on my audios, but I can also get 10 or 15,000 views. So it's like, that's a big range. So do I want all my good content to only get 15,000 views or listens? No. So will I occasionally be a whore? Depending on how you define that.
Sometimes it's like going back to Andrew Tate, you almost sometimes need to like get that reaction.
Yeah, well, that's different for me. I don't at all feel like a whore interviewing Andrew because he's a businessman.
No, 100%.
And that's different. But there's definitely some people I've interviewed where I'm like, you know what? Like I'm jumping on a bandwagon here, or this is a bit out of my concept. But I think about this a lot. I think about it all the time. It is a bit demoralizing when you interview someone who you know's got really good information and they are legitimately worth hundreds of millions and the world doesn't get it. I mean, I did an episode for 2.5 hours on the 21 traits and habits of billionaires. It's fucking great content. It's probably tripped over 15,000 views. Doesn't make any sense.
What I do love is
I can have Katie Hopkins talk about anything and it'll get 10 million views. I mean, I like Katie and I know her well because I've got to know her. But before, when I didn't know her, I knew the game I was playing.
But the views compound, isn't it? So, like, sometimes it's not always about what it is today.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah. Final question for me, which is, you talked about legacy and you talked about, like, some of the things that you want to be remembered for, you know. How would you want your son to remember you?
I would like my son to respect me that I built something meaningful in my life that benefited a lot of people. And also, he respected the fact that when he was younger, I made him do things he didn't want to do, and now he knows why. And now he sees the benefit when he's 25 or 35. That's how I want my son to remember me. My daughter, who's equally as important as my son, I want her to remember me for building something meaningful and lasting. But that we had a lot of cheeky fun and banter, and that I taught her how to play smart and protect herself in this world. So with my son, I want to get him to get some hard lessons, which when he's 15 he doesn't like, but when he's 25 he thanks me for. my daughter, it's a bit different. With my daughter, it's fun, cheek and banter, and we've got to navigate her away from not getting into some bad relationships and that. But she's already got the charm and the cheek. So it's slightly different. I don't want or need my children to like me because I'm not their friend. I'm their dad.
Wow.
I want and need my kids to respect me, knowing that their resilience and their strength came from partly me. I also don't need to spend masses of time with my children because they've got their own lives. I need the time to matter that I do spend with them.
Wow, I love that. Rob, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. We need to do a part 2 in Dubai, I think.
All right, yeah. Well, when I'm out doing the Dubai tour, I'll go out there sometime.
Yeah.
We'll catch up. You're there half the time, are you?
I go like every 2 months because my main business comes from the UK. But obviously something I'm building, which is like the GCC market. Before we wrap up, I just want to kind of give you the floor of like everything that you've got going on. I know you mentioned you've got a tour coming, like things coming up with Sarah Al-Madani and other things. So why don't you just tell us what you have going on and where everyone can follow you, even though it will be in the description anyway.
Yeah. So I've done a lot, written 19 books, 1,050 podcast episodes, have a lot of content. I'm on every social media platform there is, other than OnlyFans. And
coming
Snapchat. Coming soon. Yeah, you'll know if all goes to shit when I'm on OnlyFans. Actually, the place where everyone can kind of get everything in one place is rob.team, which is my digital financial freedom platform that helps people start and scale their business and get better financial knowledge. Teaches you how to build recurring income, get your tax bill down, get your income streams up. So if you just type in rob.team, that's where you get the hundreds of hours of courses, resources and masterclasses all combined. I don't even think it's 20 pence a day. It's not even a couple of cups of coffee. And that's my school that I'm building. So people always ask me, Rob, why don't you, get into the school system? The school system doesn't want me in it because I'll teach people how money really works and how to really make money. And it's the opposite of the school system. So I'm building my own school, which is called rob.team. Has, I think, 9,750 students at the moment. Rob Moore or Rob More Progressive, you'll find me on every social media channel. Disruptors is my podcast. The books, Money and Life Leverage, they're probably the main two. And across that, you'll find everything you need from me, and all the other dots will connect. And, I'm speaking in Korea and Budapest, and you'll find all that, as well as obviously in the UK, and you'll find all the other work I do there.
Love that. And any final message for the viewers, listeners? Anything that you want to just leave?
Always. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything.
Can you go a little bit deeper on that?
I can if you want.
I'd love to, yeah.
Well, most people aren't living the life they want because they're scared of trying to live the life they want in case they fail. So the only way to live the life you want is to let go of the life you've got. And the only way you do that is by taking risks. So no one's going to get to the end of their life regretting the things they tried. They're only going to regret the things they didn't try and the things they didn't say and the things they didn't do. And I don't want to be that guy. So on the other side of everything you're scared of is everything you want. So it's simple. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything.
Love that. What a great ending. Rob, thank you so much. Thank you all for watching. It was probably our longest podcast ever, but
good.
I mean, we could have kept going, but if you want to, sure. If you want to see our part 2, then let us know in the comments down below, wherever you're listening or watching. Rob,
I've got another question for you.
Oh, okay, cool.
You said so I've just got connected with Sarah.
Yes.
And you said that was your most viral episode.
Yes.
Why?
I think, in what I've noticed, I mean, excluding you definitely, but I think in Dubai, people are way more open. So like, for example, I'm not the biggest podcast in the world, but Sarah has a lot of followers But she was super humble. Like, she recognized me. She showed respect. She wanted to do it. Like, you know, like you said, you haven't been paid to be here, right? Like, definitely, like, I like resonate with people that, you know, we've actually got a genuine relationship. After that, we became great friends. She invited me to an AI conference in Dubai. You know, she had a very intimate dinner after that. Like, you know, I call her a friend, and actually someone that, you know, I may have met her only a handful of times, but like, I've got a genuine connection with her. So I think, obviously, you know, definitely she's got followers. She can be controversial in some people's opinion.
What did she say that was controversial?
She's obviously she's quite a strong woman. So she doesn't care about who she offends. She's been through like you know, multiple divorces, which obviously from her community, that's quite taboo anyway. So she's very open on it. She's unapologetic. She doesn't care about other people's opinions. And that's one of the major messages that she was given in the podcast was, don't care what people think, because I once did, and it doesn't get you anywhere. And it's exactly what you said as well. It's like they say, you know, when you try to please everyone, you please no one. So
listen to this, right? One of my mentors, if you have a choice between pissing yourself off or pissing someone else off, choose them every time.
That's very good.
That's quite deep when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because we suppress things for fear of pissing people off, but then we end up getting hurt.
Who would you rather hurt, yourself or someone else?
Well, no, piss off. It depends. Like, I don't want to hurt anyone.
Yeah, but piss off. Yeah, I get what you mean. Do you want to piss yourself off where you're going to feel like, shit, I got the wrong end of the stick here?
I should have said this. I should have done this. I people pleased. I was worried about being criticised. I've not probably lived my life.
Passive aggressive as well.
Yeah, that you see a lot of people like that. I know when people are pissed off with me and they're pretending not to be. And so I say to them, I know you're pissed off with me and you're not saying it, so say it. And I give them the permission to say it.
The corporate world, like, kind of promotes that though, like passive aggressiveness. Like, you can't really go and speak to certain people. Like for example,
fuck the corporate world.
Yeah, like,
I mean, I've never had to live in that world. So like the thought of having to be passive aggressive and brinkmanship and political games and posturizing and all of that bollocks, hate all that shit. So I chose to not be in that world. Maybe people are good at playing that game. I have sometimes people that come to work for me and they're good at the politics. They're not normally very good at their job. Those people don't last 5 minutes in my company. So it's just a waste of time. I want to get shit done. In 50 years, no one remembers brinkmanship and politics and passive aggression. Everyone just remembers what you fucking achieved or what you didn't, or the difference you made in other people's lives and what you didn't. So for me, I like to cut through all that bullshit, which is why I embrace now more challenging people if they piss me off. And here's the thing as well. I didn't used to challenge people who pissed me off because I'd be worried about their response to me challenging them. And now I know at the other side of the argument is clarity, and we've aired a situation and they've said their bit and we can move forward. So yeah, pissing people off is a great talent. If you can be good at pissing people off well, you're going to be very successful. I mean, Andrew Tate's made hundreds of millions out of pissing people off, if you think about it. But maybe that's, some people haven't got the appetite to piss them off that much.
The thick skin as well, isn't it? Not caring, like, not even just online, but people within. I think that's the difference, actually, is that people within, they know who you are. Whereas online, people will always have their opinion, they'll always have their perspective, and they'll always have an obstructed view of who you really are.
Well, what their view of you is their view of themselves.
Projecting, that's what Sarah actually says a lot as well.
Yeah. So I try and practice objectivity, which means here's what I know, here's what I don't. And I'm aware that I have my own biases towards any situation. Some people call it ego or experience or whatever. So objectivity is trying to remove all those layers and see something for what it is. And most people can't do that. It's actually a great thing to practice, but it's very hard to do. And it's not even spiritual. It's just, so for example, sometimes you don't sleep very well. You perform badly the next day. So if I can objectively find that out, that arms me with some good information. So I think practicing, Ray Dalio's the best at this, I think. I learned from him. He's like 70 billionaire, like radical open-mindedness.
He's
and objectivity.
Warren Buffett's business partner, right?
No, that was Charlie Munger.
Charlie Munger,
yeah.
okay.
But,
okay. Ray Dalio.
Ray Dalio.
I think I remember, yeah.
He's someone I'm enjoying learning from. So no one on the internet that criticizes you is objective because they don't know you, which means they're subjective, which means they're judging you. And you know when like often criticism is actually envy. And envy is desire. Now, I remember the first person I saw who had a Ferrari in Peterborough. And I remember instantly feeling envy. And I remember saying to my friend, he's probably a drug dealer. But I wanted that Ferrari. So envy is desire. So people that envy you, they want what you've got. And I see that as a compliment. So just because they don't know how to articulate it and they say it, like, if you think about it, I'm making the right moves if people envy me. But they just don't know how to articulate it in the way that I want. But what right do I have to get you to communicate in the way that I want? It's not my right. You call me whatever you fucking want. But I know it's envy. And envy is desire. And that means you want what I've got. And that means I'm doing something right. And that's objectivity. Also, some people, here's the thing, right? I've noticed when my staff get upset, when I care to dig and find out, there's usually a personal problem. So one of my staff members, he was resisting someone we were letting go. And I found out he'd lent her money. And so he didn't want us to let her go because he'd lent her money. That's a valuable piece of information. And now you can objectively look at his subjectivity, i.e. his bias. So in any situation, when you can go objective and figure out what's behind what they're saying and you understand that, you're armed with great knowledge to influence people, guide people. Generally speaking, when you're running a company, the biggest problems people have when they're working for you are when they've got shit going on at home. And then you understand that and you help them and you support them and then you build loyalty.
Because they're humans at the end of the day. Love that. You made me want to ask more questions, man. But anyway, I've got one more. Like on a daily basis, do you have any, like, you know, like a lot of the top speakers, I'm sure you have it as well. Like you have like daily routines or daily habits, let's say, and sometimes there's conscious things that you do and sometimes they're not so conscious. For me, for example, like I love it when I go to a sauna. Like if I start my day with a sauna.
You mean like in here now?
Oh yeah, it's hot, man, isn't it? Yeah, I spoke to them. They need to get AC.
Well, the thing is, in the studios, you can't put the aircon on because
exactly,
it makes a noise.
Exactly,
yeah.
And no fans. Yeah. And this is like underground. Anyway,
it's all good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
We'll open.
I'll sweat you out. You wanted to kick me out 20 minutes ago.
No,
I'm
you know what it is.
Sweating you out.
Normally we aim for like an hour.
You're going to break before.
I love it. I'm here for it. Obviously, the studio guys will probably tell us.
Whatever.
But
you're paying them. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's worth it. Okay, so like daily success habits. Do you have any? And what would you recommend? Like for me, going back to sauna, you know, I like it. I feel good. I feel ready. I feel amped. Yeah. Different people. Oh, cold plunge. I started falling in love with that. I've only been doing that for about 6 months, and every time I go in, I feel like I want to get longer. I don't do it daily, but like there might be some things that you have like daily habits.
Yeah, so I actually wrote a book on this called Routine Equals Results. Because the reason I wrote a book on it is because I get asked this. I've been asked this 10,000 fucking times or whatever. I get it. And it's a good question because remember, success leaves clues. But the one thing you have to remember is my routine isn't right for you. You can borrow bits to it, but you are your own individual. You're at a different point in your life. So what you need to do is model the best bits of other people's routines and know how to create your own ideal routine. So that's why I wrote Routine Equals Results, if anyone wants to do that. So what I do is I get up between, on average, 3 a.m. to 5 a.m.
What? Every day?
Sometimes get up earlier, every day. And the first thing I do is go and make a 4-shot espresso. And I down that, and then it makes me just want to conquer the world. Every day I get up excited to go to work. The coffee helps. But it's one of, I have a few vices, nothing illegal, and that's my main vice.
Is it okay to have vices? Like bad vices?
Everybody has vices.
Yeah,
And
but
bad
some
is
people don't admit
subjective.
it. Some people don't admit it.
Bad
like,
is subjective.
as in, for example, like for some people, they say their vice is the gym, which obviously is a positive thing. But
Well,
like,
they're probably bullshitting.
boring, yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, you know, when I interview people and I say, you know, tell me some of your weaknesses, and they say, well, I'm a perfectionist, but that
Yeah,
makes
that's
me
like
really good
a
at my job. Fuck off.
script answer,
Fuck
isn't
off.
it?
I mean, I don't ask that question anymore because it's a shit question, but fuck off. You've just told me that your vice is a positive. So, every upside has
Everyone's
a
got
downside.
skeletons, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone's got skeletons. Every superhero has demons. So everyone has vices. But vices are perceptions, because sometimes, like, let's say Russell Brand, pretty much you'd say one of his vices is he loves to shag a lot. A lot. But that also makes his humour, and that makes him charming. So it's a vice over there, but it's probably made him really successful over there. So your vice can be your greatest strength depending on what it is. Obviously not if you're a drug addict or anything like that. You know, if one of your vices is you really need praise all the time, well, you might end up being the front man of a band, or you might end up being a good public speaker because you're good at playing to the audience. So back to the routine question. I get up at 3 to 5 a.m. I have a 4-shot espresso. I immediately go and start work, and I deal with the tasks that I want other people to do, ideally my senior managers first, because if I can get them all cracking on my emails at the top of their inbox when they start work, then they're all moving. Then I focus maybe on the more junior people who I've got to fire tasks out to, or check the ongoing management of their tasks. Then I do my highest key result area tasks, my strategy, my vision, my planning. Then I'll maybe look at cleaning out my inbox and just firing off some of my own general tasks. Then I'll go out on a long walk and I'll clear all my voice memos. I have a lot of voice WhatsApp groups where I mentor people and all the people I talk to. I want to get 15,000 steps a day in. One of my mentors said the 2 ways to live the longest, proven, scientifically proven, is meaningful mission and purpose in life and walk a lot. And those things all trump eating, alcohol, other things. So I learned that. I'm 45. I learned that at age 40. So I want 15,000 steps a day, and I want a meaningful mission and vision and purpose. And I believe those 2 things will help me live to 100 plus with good energy. So I'll walk 15,000 steps, which might take me an hour and a half. And I do all my voice memos and other planning, and I'll write social media content via voice memo to my social media guy. It'll normally then take me to 8 a.m. I'll plan and prepare and write some content. Then I'll do some content at 8:30. Then I'll work out. Then after,
That's crazy. You've done all of that before
by about
people have even woken up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Then ice bath. I'm an ice bath junkie. So
It feels amazing when you come out.
Yeah,
like,
ice bath make you feel. I mean, my legs are still buzzing from the cold shower. If I've got an ice bath at home, I got given it by someone on social media, which is great because I've got a decent following. So that's one of the benefits. And yeah, so I used to do 1 minute at 2 degrees, which is the lowest it will go. But Gary Brecker, one of the top sort of biohackers in the world, I got to know him. He came on my show. He said you don't need to do that. So I do 6 degrees for 4 minutes. I often do a voice memo in the ice bath for a bit of leverage.
That's crazy.
And so then my second coffee after that, and then 10 till 12, I usually write or just slow down a bit and just deal with general stuff. And then my meetings are normally 12 till 3. Now, at the moment, I've got a couple of big missions for the next 1 to 4 years. So I'm starting the meetings about 10 a.m. and they're finishing about 5. And I'm having more dinners now and I'm doing more travel. And because, I've retired like 4 times, and sometimes I do no work. I don't have an office. I have my laptop. And then the evenings are family, with my kids, my wife. I work at home a lot, so I'm always there. And I get my kids involved in the business as much as I can. I do lives with my daughter. She's got a bracelet business. She's 9. She's done really well. She sold £300 worth of £5 bracelets in 9 minutes at a talk. I interviewed her on one of my events. She
Wow.
cleaned up. And then I'll watch about 30 minutes on average of stuff on Netflix just to wind down. I'll go to bed normally 9:30, maybe 10. That's my day.
Such a military schedule.
I've tested so many. I test every single type of coffee. I test when I drink it. I test when I go up. I test the temperature on the ice bath. Oh, now after the ice bath, I do as hot a shower as I can. I don't know. I'm going to get a sauna, but I don't have a sauna at the home yet. But I've got ice bath at home. But I'll get a sauna and then I'll do cold therapy hot because Gary Brecker reckons that's really good for you. He calls it contrast.
Do you never wake up and you're just like, can't be bothered for today?
No, never. I'm excited to get up every fucking day.
Have you always been that way though?
No.
What was the unlock? What was the change?
Business.
Just like over time, gradually.
Business.
No, but did you make certain changes like all in one go?
Yeah, I started my own businesses and businesses I was excited to work in. And whether it's excitement for the product or excitement for the team or excitement that we're making loads of money, like you have to be careful with excitement. It's better to be grateful than excited, but excited for me is the next best thing. I've got to have something to get excited about. Look, some days, so 365 times 20, 3,650 times 2, let's call it 7,000 days I've been an excited entrepreneur. There's probably been 30 days where I've woken up with a sense of doom just because the shit is really hard, or I'm in the middle of some absolute bullshit that's really trying me. But all I need is that 4-shot espresso. Let's go. Yeah, so that's my routine. But it's not right for everyone. Some people, they work better late at night. Some people should do less work than me because they have hobbies. I don't really have hobbies because business is my hobby. You know, I'm happy to hang out with here longer than you. You would have kicked me out 35 minutes ago. But I've merged a couple of meetings in London. I'm here for the day. I'm staying over because this is my hobby. And we might as well get some more content out of it.
Love it. I'm not going to complain.
I could have this conversation for another hour. But we're all different. I don't want anyone to look at my routine and compare themselves to me, other than if they can resonate with any of it, do more of it.
How do you balance? I can't remember what the name of the study is, but like they talk about balancing health, wealth, love, and happiness. How do you balance all of those 4 things?
Okay. Happiness is not really important. I'll come to why in a moment. Health, as I've got older, I'm 45 now, and I want to stay young and look young, and I don't want to do that artificially. So
some good doctors out there.
Yeah, there are, but I'm going to resist that as much as I can. So I want to 15,000 steps a day. I spar once a week. I'm trying to do twice a week, and you know, weights and you know, keeping your muscle. One of the things that is quite linked to death is muscle atrophy. So I want to make sure my muscle doesn't atrophy. So I would say I've probably made wealth the most important thing in my life over the last 18 years. I've got enough of it now. I need to make health the most important thing. So it needs to be health, probably then still for me wealth, because I'm still on a mission. Love, I mean, one of my mentors taught me that money is an expression of love, because if you make money doing what you love, money is a result, therefore money is an expression of love. And me writing books and doing what I do is an expression of my love and passion, just like an artist's expression of love is their canvas. So I've learned to express my love through my work. But yeah, for me, love is more important now, i.e. I want my engagement with people, I want there to be a sense of love in it. Whether that is just that I gave you 40 minutes more than you expected, and that may be a form of love. Or, you know, we'll swap numbers and we'll, you know, stay in touch, or we, you know, might help each other after, or your viewers and listeners get some, you know, good shit. That's a form of love. I want to love the people that are important, but I want to piss off the people that aren't, because that's how you build a big brand. So I'm not too hippie about love. It's probably more important to love the right people and not love everyone. Gratitude transcends love. I mean, I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that my legs are still buzzing from my cold ice bath, and I'm still buzzing on the coffee and the meetings I've got later. And like, my friend had his arms and legs blown off in the Gulf.
Wow.
And he's a fucking grateful guy.
What was he in the military?
Yeah. And in Ukraine, people have had their kids blown up in front of them. So every day shit happens. I read on the news today, 2 people on a motorbike, 4 people in a car, 2 young kids all died in a crash. And so gratitude, I think, is the most important practice. I'm fucking grateful for all my problems. Believe you me, my problems are champagne first world problems, and I wouldn't swap them for anyone else's. I really wouldn't. Happiness is overrated. It's way over. If you chase happiness, you avoid problems and challenges and hardship. Let me ask you this.
Mm.
Do you prefer the happiness that you get in the moment of avoiding the gym, or the satisfaction afterwards when you did a hard workout?
Always afterwards.
Yeah. But most people in life, they're chasing the short-term, easy happiness.
The easy way out.
Yeah, well, I just want to be happy and do a 3-day working week and work from home. No, you're weak and you're taking the easy option. The better happiness is when you get to the end of a 60-hour week and you know you fucking did hard work and you've earned your weekend. So, I mean, men and women are different. As a man, our purpose isn't happiness. Our purpose is struggle and challenge and growth through it.
Mm.
So the problem with chasing happiness is your work goes down, your productivity goes down, you chase the wrong
I think
thing.
happiness is not a constant state, isn't it? So there's always going to be moments of happiness. Like, you're happy when you watch the football, or you're happy when you're with your missus, or whatever it is. But like, you know, it's not going to be consistent. Like, you're never going to be happy all of the time. You can be grateful all the time, and you can be content all the time, and fulfilled and driven. But you're never going to be like elated all the time.
No. So I don't really chase happiness anymore. I try and be grateful for every moment. And then when things feel really good, I just try and be as present in that moment as I possibly can. But chasing happiness is a mug's game.
I was having a conversation with someone not too long ago, and we were talking about being delusional. Because I kind of have this theory that when you're early in business, especially when you come from humble beginnings, you almost have to be delusional. You almost have to believe that you're going to achieve something that, you know, people don't, or that, you know, you haven't really seen, or there's no blueprint, or it's delusional for you to even think that you can do it. And I think, you know, the billionaires today, or the millionaires out there, including yourself, like, at one point you had to believe that you were going to be a millionaire or a billionaire when you had nothing. Like, you had to believe it. And most people, they don't even fathom, like, they don't even dream that big. Like, they feel like maybe that's, you know, it's too far away. Like, how can I think of, I haven't even hit 6 figures, how am I going to believe I'm going to be a millionaire, right? So what's your thoughts on that, on being delusional, and also not letting that carry over into your personal life of just being delusional with everything?
Yeah. So for me, this depends who says it. So if someone who's broke, or a victim, or a moaner, a whinger, a complainer, a lefty, ultra woke, says to me, you're delusional, then to me, they've basically just given me the fuel to go and do it. Because they're projecting their own lack of belief. When someone says you can't do it, what it actually means is they don't know how. Doesn't mean you can't. It means they don't know how, or they don't want you to. So anyone says to me, I can't, or you're delusional, or you're crazy, or you're obsessive, I'm like, thanks for the compliment, thanks for the compliment, thanks for the compliment, thanks for the compliment.
Sorry to interrupt.
If Elon Musk can do it, I can do it. If anyone can do it, I can do it.
But like, for example, let's say, okay, let's use, for example, I don't know if that's his real name, Colonel Sanders, like KFC founder, right? Obviously, that story is very famous. Like, he founded KFC at over 60, and, you know, he had multiple failures. Like, his track record wasn't good. Like, people in his life thought he was a failure, probably. Like, we don't know, obviously, the milestones and stuff, but like, he would have had to have that self-belief, regardless of the track record, to get to KFC. Right?
Maybe. The thing is, right, I like, this is not popular for social media, but remember, I like objectivity. We don't know the full story. We know the myth of the story.
True.
And
take everything with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, and it's a nice story to write in business
That's
books.
true, that's true.
Did he have multiple failures? Did he have some bad luck? Did actually he have some relatively okay businesses? They just weren't as big as KFC.
They didn't make headlines, yeah.
Yeah. How much of KFC's now size was down to him? Because the McDonald's.
Yeah, I watched the movie recently, actually.
Yeah, the founders. Is it founders?
The founder, yeah.
Yeah, the founder. That's it. Well, the people who created McDonald's didn't turn it into a global franchise, and actually Ray Kroc didn't. He started it.
Yes, he started the kind of
he
revolution.
Started it.
Yeah.
So everyone will go, "Oh, Ray Kroc, McDonald's." No, the guys who made the burgers didn't make the franchise. The guy who made the franchise didn't make it as big as it is now. So we glorify this journey. So I don't know the story of Colonel Sanders. I don't know how many times he failed. Here's what I know, objectively. Churchill said, success is going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And I like that. But define failure. Because if you launch a business and you have it for 7 years and you make a decent amount of money and then you have to wind it down, that's not a failure. That's just a business that had a shelf life. So we glorify things like you need to be delusional, or, you need to fail 10 times. I've never failed a business. And I've done $250 million in sales, and I became a millionaire aged 30 and a decamillionaire aged 35, and then I stopped counting. And I have never failed a business. But if you listen to any wanky American influencer on LinkedIn, you have to have failed 28 businesses. Is
that just to create soft culture, do you think? Like, is that just to
kind of I saw
things?
Humza, and he did this LinkedIn post. Failed my first business, failed my second business, failed my third business, failed my 9th business.
Glorifying
then you're
failure.
Shit.
Glorifying failure.
Yeah, and how many creditors did you screw over in those 9 failures? And glorifying failure. Rob Moore failed no businesses. It's just great story to say, keep failing until you succeed. No, keep succeeding until you succeed bigger. So you can create your own path. The only thing I think is if someone tells me I can't, that's their projection of belief onto me. And the weaker they are, the more strong it makes me. Now, I don't think you need to be delusional to be an entrepreneur. Because, all right, let's say you need to be in the 0.1% club. Well, 0.1% of 7 billion is still a fucking lot of people. If 0.1% of people become black belts in martial arts, there's hundreds of thousands or millions of black belts around the world. So could I be one of millions of people? Of course I fucking could. Now, all right, am I likely to be worth 200 billion? No. When you get unicorns, then you need everything to line up. You need timing of a market. You need a certain amount of luck. You need a certain type of person. You need all the ducks to be in a row to be worth 200 billion. But to be worth 10 million or 50 million, actually, that's not that hard, and anyone could do that. It's just most people are not prepared to. It's just not delusion. To me, that's quite normal. What it is, though, is you need to be naively enthusiastic about your problems. And that's what people aren't. What people don't really want to be a millionaire. They want an easy life. You can't be a millionaire and have an easy life.
Catch-22.
Yeah, but then that makes it easier for me to be a millionaire because I know everyone else wants an easy life. I'm prepared to do what it takes to be a millionaire or a decamillionaire or 100 millionaire. So I just compare myself to everyone else and then it just looks easy.
Wow, that's a lot to take in, honestly. When you say easy, do you think that's also subjective? Because like...
Well, is it easier to make 10 million next year or go and fight in the Ukraine war and lose my family and pick their body parts up? It's way fucking easier to make 10 million.
Of course.
So I agree with you because there are people that say, oh, it's easy to get rich. You just click this button and buy this Forex trading course or my crypto course. That shit. That's bollocks. There's no such thing as get rich overnight. You said overnight success. There is no such thing. You know, the old...
It's just when you found out about the person,
yeah,
basically.
Exactly. And actually, when you meet people who are successful and you didn't know them, you didn't know the fact they've been doing it for 10 years. But in today's world, with information at the speed of light through fiber optics and social media, and anyone can go viral overnight, you don't get overnight success, but you can have quicker success because
your life can change in a year, basically.
Yeah, you can. You could go from 0 to a millionaire in 12 to 36 months, whereas it would have taken 4 to 10 years, maybe 15 years ago, and it might have taken 10 to 20 years 50 years ago. Because 50 years ago, we had to write letters to each other. 1,000 years ago, we had to send a fucking pigeon. Now, speed of light through fiber optics on the internet. So the world has changed. So you can become a millionaire more quickly, but you still have to follow the fundamental rules of becoming a millionaire, i.e., you have to build... If you sell things at £10, you need 1 million clients to make 10 million to net 1 million. So you're going to need to find out how to get that many clients, and you're going to have to endure problems. You're going to have to hire staff, and you're going to have to do all this stuff. But you can do it a lot quicker. So it's far easier being a millionaire than it is being down in the coal mines, you know, working 12 hours a day, poisoning your lungs, or being raised in Africa and walking 10 miles for, you know, water. But it's not get rich quick easy.
All right, let's literally wrap it up. But thank you so much, honestly. Did I miss anything?
Well, I mean,
anything that you maybe wanted to share, or
I didn't come in with any goals or motives. No. So
why don't you tell me why you came on? Because obviously, like, you don't really need to be here. Like, do you see what I mean? You obviously worked around it, and, you know, even you were grateful to be here.
Yeah.
You know, but really, you don't need to be here.
So I found your show because of Sarah, and like your experience with her, my experience with her was very good. And people like Sarah give me faith in humanity that the old school way of doing business by caring and connecting still exists. It's okay to be transactional. You know, we'll do transactions, but so that's how I found out about you. I saw you as an up-and-coming podcast. I like going on up-and-coming shows because I like to see people's journey and rising towards success. Obviously, you've done a lot compared to a nobody, but obviously I've been...
a lot more to achieve.
Yeah. So I saw you as like an up-and-coming. I want to spread my reach more globally, and obviously you have connections in Dubai. I want all the content to do a load of short form. So I'm basically going to nick all your content, which you're happy with.
More than welcome.
We're going to do collabs on Instagram. You win, I win.
Definitely.
And also, I just I go through these moments where I go and I do the circuits, and then I go through these moments where I don't, and I haven't done as much of the circuit for a while, so I'm back in the game.
I'm curious, actually. Would you always stay in the UK?
No.
Like, so do you always travel as well?
No. So you said, would I always stay in the UK? The answer is no.
Yeah.
Do I travel much? No.
Okay.
Because of my family,
Fine.
mostly. But I'm traveling a lot more now. I've got a speaking gig in Korea coming soon. I've got one in Budapest coming soon. I had a Miami tour lined up, which I've just got to postpone by a couple of months. I'll do Dubai. I'll do other places in America probably within the next 12 months.
But do you think, like, long term you'll always reside in the UK?
No.
Really?
Fuck the UK. It's fucked.
Honestly, it's crazy.
It's fucking really bad.
The only thing that's keeping me here is business, though. I think business is still good.
Well, it depends where you compare it to. Maybe not compared to Dubai. Maybe not compared to Texas. Maybe not compared to Lisbon. Maybe compared to Ukraine. I mean, look, we're in the Western world and we're living with feet. It's like Man United. They're living off the titles they won in the 2000s.
Why are you hitting me where it hurts?
Oh, you're a Man U fan,
yeah.
I won't tell you I support them.
12 years we haven't won a Premier League.
Yeah. So, you know, you're living off you're feasting.
Of our history.
Yeah,
UK's like that, yeah, facts.
Yeah,
That's
and we had an empire and we don't anymore. And everything's gone to fuck. And they've really fucked the country.
Do you think
up
there's
on
any
another
recovery,
level.
though?
Well, anything could potentially recover, but you've got to do things to recover. You've got to refund the police. You've got to make the laws harder. Theft is basically legal in London. And, you know, the NHS is a broken system. There is no free healthcare because you have to go private unless you want to wait 3 years to get a checkup. So you pay twice. Taxes are not quite as high as they were in the 70s when they were the highest, but they're not far off. Our quality of living, our spending power is as bad as it was at the end of World War II. That whole fucking lockdown bullshit, $1 trillion wasted in funding lockdown. I'm not even going to talk about vaccines and things, just the lockdown itself. They spent $1 trillion, which, by the way, when I say they spent $1 trillion, there's no such thing as government spending. There is only we spend, because the only source of revenue from the government is us. So you and I spent $1 trillion, all of us in the UK, of our money, and we didn't get a choice where that money went. And some of it went to PPE contracts in government. It was an outrage.
I think that's where like the veil was lifted almost, you know, like
yeah, you could argue that it's been good because people are now awake to how the world really works. But tell me, the roads are fucked. There's always roadworks.
Oh, potholes everywhere.
The media's gone. No one trusts the BBC anymore. Like, name me a public service that is succeeding in the UK.
Yeah, they've almost made mediocrity normal.
Yeah.
In the way that
no
they
one cares. People don't want to work anymore. The work ethic in this country is a joke.
It's madness.
Like, people, like the good work ethic people in this country were Europeans. And then with Brexit, we fucking sent them all back.
So true. I was having this conversation with someone the other day about like, because my main industry is hospitality, and they were like, it's crazy because they actually were the best, best chefs, best waiting staff. They actually cared. They would go above and beyond. Like, they were good at
they
service.
Get on, they work, they don't moan.
Yeah. And now, like, it's just changed, man. It's just changed. Like, I don't know.
Brexit was bad. I mean, Brexit was the start, and then the lockdowns and everything else. The taxes are ridiculous. People don't know this, but I'm telling you, the average person pays 70% in tax in what you earn and what you spend. If you like really knew that 7 hours out of 10 you're working for the government, and for every £10 you earn, you get 3. You think you get 6. No, you don't. VAT, you have to charge more. Corporation tax, VAT 20%, corporation tax 25%, income 45%. It's less for some, but it's more for others. Then you've got national insurance for the employer and the employee. Then you've got your business rates, and then you've got all this compliance and that compliance.
And you've got like...
And then everything you buy has VAT and sales tax on it on top.
Yeah.
You buy a car, there's 5 different taxes in it. There's 3 different taxes in fuel. Alcohol is mostly tax. Gambling is mostly tax.
And there's like so many ways that they'll try to trip you up. Like for example, when you go to Dubai, like, you just feel so calm. Like, there's no issues, no brown envelopes that I need to open up in the post. And like, here it's like ULEZ, congestion charge, £12 an hour for parking in central London. If you don't pay, then you got a ticket. Like, it's crazy. Like, they're just trying to stumble you up every way that
all
they
of those are taxes. Do you know, I found out the business model of car parks. A car park, a company that runs a car park will give, let's say you own a piece of land and I have a car park company. I will give you all of the revenue for the paid tickets because I make all my money on the fines. Motherfuckers. Motherfuckers. I mean, that's some kind of bullshit, that.
That is.
And do you know what? This fucking sends me wild with anger. And people say it shouldn't, and it's a champagne problem, but it fucking does. I've got, one of my cars is an Aston Martin DBS, and someone in a Yaris reversed into my Aston Martin DBS, and I went to claim on their insurance because they reversed into my car and it's 100% their fault, and my fucking premium goes up. But when you reverse into my Aston Martin and someone in the Yaris gets out and goes, oh, it's only a scratch, that cost me 15 fucking grand.
That's so true.
But I can't claim on the insurance because they will take it out of my insurance. It wasn't even my fault. Twice in a week, some fucker went into the back of my Aston Martin DBS and I can't claim. So I paid twice. I pay for my insurance, but then I have to pay repairs outside because I can't claim in my insurance even when it's not my fault. That's some kind of scam.
You know, even like a lot of people's cars are getting stolen, like lifted, like literally even off their driveways and stuff. Like you see it all the time, and sometimes they don't pay out. Like if there was a little error on their paperwork or you missed something there.
Insurance is not a public service. This is a for-profit organisation. Here's a bit of advice.
But it's mandatory though.
Yes, but and that's look. I understand why car insurance should be mandatory. Because otherwise you could recklessly go and kill someone.
Yeah, of course.
So certain insurances need to be mandatory, but they don't need to be outrageous like they are. Now, before I tell you this, it's a fucking important bit of information. The problem in insurance is the people who screw the insurance companies over, i.e. the criminals and the people who are scamming the system. We have to pay for those. So I have some sympathy with the insurance companies. But the insurance companies are a for-profit organisation. So an insurance company is there to protect you, but they don't want to pay you. So this is key. You must read your insurance policy in detail. So I had an insurance policy about 10 years ago for my Rolexes. And basically, when you read the small print, I was insured if it's in a safe or I lose it in my house. Think about that. It's never going to get nicked out of a safe, and you're never going to lose it out of your house. And the only two ways it's insured is if it's in a safe or you lose it in your house. So basically, they will never pay out.
So many loopholes, basically, like just so many ways that they don't have to pay you out, basically.
So I had an incident with a watch, right? A loss of a watch. And I phoned up the insurance company. Now, thankfully, I actually did lose my watch. But I read the small print. Now, the thing is, you can't say if you've lost it in the house, because when you've lost it, you don't know where it is. So I read the policy and I spoke to my business partner who's fucking wily. I'd lost my watch. I didn't know where I'd lost it. And I phoned the insurance company and they're like, oh, could you have lost it in the gym? I was like, no, I definitely didn't lose it in the gym. Oh, could you have lost it, when you left the house? No, I definitely didn't lose it in the house. Where did you lose it? In the house. Can you be sure? Yeah, I'm 100% sure I lost it in the house. They paid out. If I'd have said I lost it in the gym or I thought I lost it outside, they wouldn't have paid out. And they were trying to get me to say I could have lost it in the gym. Honestly, I didn't know where I'd lost it. Because you don't know because you lost it. So I read the fucking policy and it said it's insured in the safe or if you lose it in your house. So I'd lost it in my house. I mean, now I could tell the truth, but they were trying to turn me to... So, like, when you insure a watch now, like, these are virtually uninsurable. Like, this will cost $6,000 to insure. $6,000 to insure a watch. This is crazy shit. Now, insurance companies won't be like that in Dubai, because theft is taken seriously in Dubai. You nick an ice cream, I'll cut your fucking hand off. Good. That's how it should be, like, instant way. Give the police guns.
Yeah.
All right, you'll have a couple of accidents, 2 or 3 people a year all die accidentally, and 10,000 a year won't die by stabbings anymore, because anyone knows if they nick an ice cream, let alone stab someone, they're going to prison for life. We've become so weak. The great British Empire that took over the entire world would not let you nick an ice cream or a watch and get away with it. What the fuck?
I think what's happened is, like, you know, obviously in the history books, there's so many people that when they dissected it, they were like, oh, that was wrong and that was wrong. And
yeah.
And people have become soft and, like, they've overcorrected, basically. So, like, now it's like they have to figure out new problems, like, even though their original problems were solved, if that makes sense. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I think that's what it comes down to.
Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. So we're in hard times now. So what does it take? Strong men. So the UK had strong men to turn hard times into good times. The reality of why we are where we are in the UK now is because we've had too good a time for too long. So people have become socialist and entitled and woke. And like you said, picking holes in everything that strong men and strong women did, and it will swing the other fucking way. And we'll get so weak and so weak and so weak that some other army, like China or somewhere, will come and they will just fucking take over the British Empire, which we don't have much left. So we need to be very careful, because like, it is a bit of a running joke how weak Europe is. Like, look at the Prime Minister. Now it's obviously Starmer, and before it was Rishi, and before it was Liz Truss, and before it was Boris. If you're China or Russia and you look at those leaders, you're just going to think weak.
And that's so important in those settings. That's so important.
Yeah.
Like your presence when you walk into a room.
But strong men are attacked right now. Now, I know that some people go the other way towards misogyny, and you have to be careful. You need strong men, and you also need compassionate women, and you need to respect compassionate women. But we also need to not emasculate strong men and, you know, make it criminal just to be a man.
Rob, I need to get back to the office, man.
Yeah. You're saying it like I'm keeping you here. You're the fucking host.
I bloody love it, man. And I want to keep going, but obviously I got things to do.
Bloody love it.
Yeah. We definitely need to grab dinner one day when you're free, and we need to do a part 2 for sure. Yeah. Maybe even a part 3, because there's, you know what it is, like, I feel like these conversations are not always being had, and like, it's just fun when two people can connect and, you know, bounce off one another. And, you know, I'm not that host that interrupts rudely, but like, you know, I want you to do your thing as well. And, you know, I'll just give my thing and my take and whatnot. So I really, really loved it. But yes, I have to get back to the office.
All right.
So Rob, thank you so much. Honestly, I mean, we did the outro maybe like over an hour ago. I think, right?
So you've basically got 2 episodes for one.
You've broken records now, basically.
Good. That's what I'm all about. I broke the world record for the longest speech. I broke the world record for the longest recipe to success episode.
Wow.
But I smashed your record by 100%.
Oh yeah. No, there's no comparison. Like there's no like number 2 is like miles apart.
That's how I like to live life.
I love that, man. Honestly, a pleasure. Thank you so much, Rob.
Numbers.
Thank you. 100%. Let's do it. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope you gained a lot of value out of this episode. I know I did. Definitely check out Rob's stuff, and we'll see you soon.